Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A happy Wednesday. It's time for week 2 of the Southeastern Esports League. On the Rocket League side, I'm Mr. Bepic. I got TJ in the booth with me, as always, this spring. It's still good to be back, TJ, and we've got some bangers lined up today.
I mean, hey, week one delivered, I think, mostly. We didn't
Yeah?
get the crazy game fives or the overtimes that we normally see, but there's still such a long season left. And normally you would think that the more important matches, the closer matches would come down to the wire, but this first one to kick off the day should be a absolute heater.
It's a great story. The reigning champs of the fall and Bruton Parker taking on the Dukes of James Madison, still making their debut in the SEL this semester and hungry to prove themselves. I know these guys want results. They're not playing in CRL, so it's up to these regional leagues outside of the top of Collegiate Rocket League for them to get results against good teams. And this is prime real estate because Bruton Parker are heavy favorites to win their group and be in that grand finals a little bit later on this spring, but James Madison can throw a big curveball to that conversation with a win here.
I mean, power rankings here in the SCL, but also in general
Yeah.
across Collegiate Rocket League. This is going to be a super, I don't want to say interesting matchup, but I think intriguing is a better word. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, JMU is upgraded with Pigeon, but with Bruton Parker subbing out Milk for Cass, I feel like the answer of the upgrade or downgrade has yet to be told. So this matchup right here, a crucial checkpoint in Bruton Parker and JMU's journeys, and I think we're ready for game one.
Yes, sir, we are. Both teams are 6-0 so far this season in Group 2 of Tier 1. Let's see who adds a blemish to the other's record when all is said and done in this best of 5. Jordan Parker and James Madison, potentially a preview of some late playoff matchups a little bit later on in the season, and we're starting off just fighting for some possession here.
There's a lot dynamically with both of these teams that I'm not sure what to look out for. Obviously, James Madison has been a team that you can always rely on all three, but Pigeon's normally the one to be the catalyst for this Dukes roster. And then on the other side of things, the Antics Manny duo has stood the test of time for the last few years. They've been teammates, and normally Milk got to be an aggressor alongside them, free up some room. But when Bruton Parker added Cass, they've slowed down. They've become a more patient team, and I haven't heard Bruton Parker and patience in a sentence probably ever.
Some of that European game sense heavy style Rocket League Cass brings to the table, and an interesting substitution for Milk. And if you are worried you won't get to see any of Milk tonight, well, don't worry. This series after this one will be Florida versus Bruton Parker Academy, doubling up on Tier 1 this evening, as we had some scheduling issues with Tier 2 teams. But apparently the Academy team's been taking games off of Cumberland, so should be a good one over there. But here, Milkless, but not skillless at all. Look at that 50-50 heavy Rocket League we're seeing at the moment, and it turns into a shot for Manny.
James Madison, one of the very few teams in this league who's able to give Bruton Parker that much space, and a pogo from Pigeon. What in the world is this for our first goal?
Redirection into control, into a flip reset that I can't tell if he used to get power on that or if the power all came from the pogo, but that's a Pigeon goal right there. That's what he brings to the table for this team. No shade to Tyler, but Pigeon has stepped up and elevated James Madison. But speaking of, Manny counters with a banger of his own.
This is how I expect this series to go. Back and forth, and the scoring has only just begun. And two incredible plays from what should be the mechanical leaders on both sides here. Great start here in the first minute 30.
Well, let's keep that going right there. Two absolute heaters in the first 90 seconds. And Antics, I'm sure, wants another one here. And another one he'll get. Not quite as heater-esque, but it still works. It scores one.
I also want to comment on Antics' car choice. That is the new Rocket Pass car. I can't remember the name, but I'm a little surprised. Antics is normally a very dominant Fennec and Octane user. Funny enough, he's actually put some of the SEL on in terms of his Fennec presets, so a stylish Fennec user as well. I don't really know what the mental may be from Bruton Parker's side of things, but it's working so far. He finds his first goal.
Well, I don't even know the name of that car either, but I'm not one that typically knows Rocket League fashion. I trust Antics here, and I mean, he's got a goal already and wants to add another to it, but comes up short. Gad finds a big save to keep JMU in striking distance, but Bruton Parker have entered game one of this set, making a statement.
This is going to be the most interesting aspect of this game, is the long haul, the mental battle. Pigeon's new to CRL, new to JMU, and overall this team is one of the youngest talented teams in CRL when you're looking at that top 48. And I would expect people like Manny and Antics to not struggle with much of that pressure, as they are doing well so far. But another side point to look out for JMU as they push through this game one.
Pigeon is only 16 attending JMU this semester, as it is his first at the college, and on the Rocket League pitch, he looks like he's been doing this for years. Obviously, his mechanical skill is heralded at the RLCS level, and he's brought that to CRL as well. But Gad and Ability are two phenomenal and backup players as they play behind Pigeon typically, as Pigeon's the space creator, but they can make damage happen in their own right. Just have to step up a bit here against Bruton Parker, who have commanded the field, all three of them, the first 3 minutes.
Gad finally going to get his time to shine as first man, something that he normally tends to flourish, I guess similar to a Soj on Florida Southern that we've seen on broadcast before, but Antics looking for a 1-2 punch by himself, almost finding that reset, but now it's going to leave Manny in an awkward spot. Pigeon somehow doesn't grab the bump. I think the actually elongated hitbox was perfect for Antics there, and now Cass trying to push his Fennec down the pitch, but not able to find much more than a simple 50. And now it leaves Pigeon with plenty of time, who will beat Manny. He'll look for Gad. Gad with the dunk, and Antics won't be able to use the hitbox to his favor this time, and JMU strikes back.
Well, there's Gad's first, and this is how JMU plays. Pigeon creates space, and you trust the sense of the other two to get the job done. That's a great dunk out of Gadaira, and Ability just gets to watch as that ball falls in. Nothing more was needed as JMU again beat Bruton Parker in transition, but BPC get established offensive tries. They're the ones that look unstoppable, and off kickoff, here they go.
Antics looks for a redirect, and again, Bruton Parker have been the host of many highlight reel plays across the SEL ever since they've joined, and many new rosters continue to join. We have already talked about JMU being a new face to things, but not a new face to success by any means, and now with 60 seconds to go, looking for one more goal to bring them closer to a game one success. I'm not sure if they're going to find it just yet, but Pigeon will try to find Gad, maybe with a slow fake. How about an insane pop? Gad might have a shot out of this. Cass will be forced awkward in front of the net, and Ability is there to make a play, but it's a little too delayed. Antics will look for the play. Cass is going to make sure that it's super easy, finding a crazy bump down the field.
Ability tried to outread Cass right there, but that is a brilliant play from the guy that just got 50 points for the assist on it. Antics, nice carry, but he's hitting that open net 10 out of 10 times every single day. Cass with the outplay on the Bruton Parker goal line, and then the box out of Pigeon made that insurance goal what it was. So the Barons again lead by 2 here in game one, but JMU, they're hanging around being a nuisance.
Oh. Huge touch from Gad as well, but it's got to be more than that to try and keep this JMU offense moving in the right direction. Cass, though, one of the newest faces to the SCL, not able to do anything with their first touch, as Antics will be in a very awkward spot in his corner. He'll survive for the time being, and Pigeon has to leave the play. No boost, so crucial seconds will continue to tick off the clock. Manny looks for a sidewall read, but not much he can find, and now Pigeon has the space to find a quick one. Has a reset, gets the carry, is trying to get over Cass, but played beautifully on defense. A fake from Gad and a read by Ability, and overall, that's going to be the end of game one. So shaky in the beginning, but the Barons survive with consistency.
Great offense, too. I mean, they put that 11 shots on target there, and their cascades of offense were so effective. It's not just the on-ball stuff as well from BPC. They look great off it, too, and it's a complete offense. I mean, these guys, I forget exactly where they ended up on the colleague poll, but at the very least, top 25, that's where they've been for the last probably going on 2 years now, the different variations of this roster, and that's the hallmark of a world-class offense, and Bruton Parker and JMU just couldn't handle it.
That's what I was referring to in game one. There is a huge deficit mentally in the preparation every day that these two teams go through. And for Bruton Parker and JMU, the even playing field is that they made two major substitutions, but the program balance of their work life, the program training regiment, obviously someone like Coach Stanley over at Bruton Parker is a super respected figure in the scene. That is what is the key difference, in my opinion. Not even to mention the mechanical consistency that Bruton Parker has shown on top of their more mental, again, EU style of play, courtesy of Cass.
And the substitution, I think, has question marks around it, considering the trio of Antics, Manny, and Milk have played together and found so much success together that you substitute out one of the better players in the CRL scene for another guy that's relatively unknown across the Atlantic, Caspian, a Dutchman that found success at CRL Worlds, but outside of that, most American CRL fans aren't going to know the name. And so there are question marks that come with that substitution, but it's looking good, though he wasn't involved in this play. This was all Antics and Manny.
Bruton Parker, no strangers to the question marks around their name. Ever since the program was founded, ever since Antics and Manny has signed on, all these players have grown with the program, and Bruton Parker, a force to be reckoned with as always. And here in Game 2, that theme still continues.
By my tongue, Cass got a big demo there to open up the space for that goal. So very much involved in that play, just not credited on the stat sheet. And there, Manny got a big stop on the goal line as JMU had Pigeon behind the ball, but all they could do was get to the goal line of Bruton Parker as the defense did the rest of the heavy lifting there. Now in the corner, ability will turn on this, but get faked out by Antics. Gad takes a good 50-50 here. JMU's working the offensive zone at the moment, but are forced to retreat.
Cass had room to work, but not enough boost to make more happen. So once again, JMU gets a full field play, and so far it's always been a pigeon flip reset into a bump, and it worked the first time, hasn't worked since then, and against all teams in the SEL, maybe other than Cumberland, those adjustments are going to be made within mere seconds, and now Bruton Parker have flipped that air dribble into one of their own, but now as I say that, Pigeon gets one, has a reset, looks for one more, and that right there is the catalyst.
Huge equalizer from Pigeon, and all that open space in front of him is exactly what causes that goal. Sorry, Manny. I mean, your teammates left you out to dry right there trying to read what Pigeon's doing on the ball, and that is no easy task. Big step up from the new star at JMU.
Another new star will step up here as Cass looks to work his way over two, but Pigeon was backwards, but not that awkward, and that's a very close shot from Antics, but it was right into Gad's hood, so we'll see if Bruton Park can find any room. Manny looking for a bump, the first man play that we've gotten used to seeing out of him. Antics trying to at least create a little bit of room for Manny to work out of the midfield. They will find each other here, but Gad very quickly trying to get back on the play. Bruton Parker back past to Cass, and now Cass beat by Pigeon, who does have room on the sidewall. Now goes ceiling, goes down to a teammate, but a lot of Bruton Parker players bumping that play out, and for the time being, JMU just kind of enjoying their vacation here in the Bruton Parker half, and now that'll flip over. What a huge double from Cass, and is there a shot in store? It will be a late play for Manny. It might be in either way, but no. Another close defensive play, and now a super awkward interaction for the Barons.
Yeah, Cass drove past that ball straight up, and well, the Barons don't seem too worse for wear. They'll get some extra possession out of this, but chaos has erupted on Forbidden Temple, as that was a crazy back and forth, but could all come back to haunt BPC for missing out on that opportunity as Pigeon was on the ball again, had Gad in tow to help him out, but his ability left to pick up the pieces here, try and keep possession for JMU, but Antics takes it away at the very least, just makes JMU fight for it again, but looks like the Dukes have retained their offense on the field.
Bruton Parker slowly getting a little disjointed on defense. A lot of solo Pigeon plays, forcing two players to jump, and now Cass in an awkward spot. Looks to go to a zero boost Manny, and it will temporarily take Pigeon out of the play, but once again he gets the full boost in the corner, and the Dukes continue to keep this pressure moving into the blue half, or I guess the orange half on the stream side of things. Now this is going to be awkward for set half, but Cass is there. Again, Bruton Parker with no boost to spare, a double commit as well, and with 2 minutes left, plenty of time for more to happen, but a lot of positives for JMU, and it could keep on going. Pigeon, reset, must-see, blocked away by Antics and tapped away. A huge play from a veteran member of CRL.
And given to Manny, but he's shut down by ability here. JMU are they're getting space in offense, but they're not able to win these 50-50s outright against Bruton Parker, and this is a quality defense that they're playing. So credit to the Barons for keeping themselves afloat, even with the 35% field domination they've been stuck with, as JMU have been playing on this BPC end for the majority of the game. But now Gad's alone against a couple of Baron cars, but he gets the job done. A couple of huge saves right there.
Surprisingly, Gad falling in the pace that he did actually saved him from a Manny bump. And so you take what you can get if you're a fan of Gad, which I know many of the Twitch viewers are tonight, with the Gad family in attendance as always. And we'll see if they can push through here and find maybe some late heroics for the stream for Game 2 to even this series up. And so far, it's looked that way. Even if this does go to OT, I think if you're a betting person, you will put your money on JMU, as they're going to continue another offensive possession into the orange half. And Gas in a super awkward spot, but does force a double commit. So if Manny can get there, it could be a possession, but it must be a pinch. And it almost works as a pass. His ability will miss. Gad might be dunked here, but does get it away. And now Pigeon has time for a counter. Will look to Gad, but Manny already up in a great first touch. Gets a reset. Looks for more. Will put it over one, but JMU surviving. But can they do it under the bright lights?
No boost for Pigeon. Follow-up's no good. BPC now have numbers, but Gad has the ball. He plays it mid, and we'll keep control. It's a low 50-50, but it's BPC that'll have the last opportunity of regulation. Man, he pre-jumps and sends a shot in Pigeon's direction for Pigeon to stomach on the goal line to keep us going to OT. Though, this is an open net. Pigeon has to act quick here, but he gets up to block that away. Bruton Parker had an early chance, but JMU in defense will hold on and give themselves some more chances to maybe level up this series in overtime.
It's only going to get harder for both teams. Bruton Parker, not a lot of offensive chances, and then almost finds something crazy there. But wait a minute, that was the closest one of the game yet. And Pigeon is able to take a somewhat controlled pinch over, and now Bruton Parker is still in the JMU half, and Gad will try to delay the inevitable for now, but maybe it's not inevitable if Pigeon has anything to say about it. Looks for more, has an open net. It bounces low, though, and it will be a misread from ability on a huge open chance.
Oh, that could come back to haunt the Dukes, because now there's Bruton Parker going the other way, but Manny's got nothing in the tank, though. That doesn't stop him from entering the JMU box, though. There's a clear for James Madison. They haven't been penned into their defensive half as much as they were in Game 1, though Bruton Parker are slowly but surely gaining more time spent in that offensive half. They entered overtime around 40% field domination, but they've upped that to 45 here, and they're getting close to 50%, but JMU still are in a decent position here, but have to hold on defensively, and Gad's been taken out by Antics. Cass scores the overtime winner, and the Barons take a 2-0 series lead.
There hasn't been a whole lot that Bruton Parker's changed if this is how they're still scoring goals. You can always count on the good old Baron bump play in a huge game. I can't even believe they had a chance at that one there, Bepic.
As dire as it looked for Bruton Parker, they had to put in so much work on their goal line. I mean, 8 saves on 10 JMU shots that game. They still found a way to enter the JMU half consistently, and it wasn't always turning into immediate shots or high-quality looks, but it was still possession that prevented JMU from putting home any more of the 10 shots that they had on target that game, and that is an impressively patient Bruton Parker defense that just worked their way out of a hole and found themselves a 2-0 series lead.
It's new age Bruton Parker. It's the Bruton Parker that I believe is currently ranked, I think, as you mentioned earlier, top 20 in the nation. And with this playstyle change, with the CAS adjustment, so far the answer that we're getting is it has been an upgrade. This is a Bruton Parker that looks to be in the driver's seat. And especially when you look at the other new teams who have joined, Texas Dallas, Texas Arlington, Cumberland, Bruton Parker Academy, you could even throw in the conversation. Yeah. They need to continue to be consistent in their own classic Baron fashion, and of course, keep adding in the bump plays. They're one game away from getting out of here with a massive 3-0 sweep.
And it is worth noting as well that coming into this split of the SEL, Bruton Parker in their 2 full semesters competing still boast the highest series win percentage across the entirety of the SEL, including those one-off teams as well. And here they go again, scoring first, looking to add to what is now well above an 85% series win rate.
I mean, good morning to the entire JMU defense a little late into this series. That was a super awkward play. Manny did get the reset, but was going to go for the bump, and through all the bumps, it takes 3 Dukes to change a light bulb, and neither one of them could reach the top. So now, down 1 early, may find a tying goal here, though, but for the time being, it will be a Gad passing play instead of any major chance. His Pigeon on his back foot will be met by Antics, but actually still has the air dribble. Manny, though, uses all of his boost and may even be found here in the air with a flip reset, but the Barons gaining confidence, but not finding that last touch just yet.
JMU will get themselves some space in offense, stability on the ball, and, well, he set up that shooter perfectly that was not there for the Dukes. No one had moved up with them as they were still recovering from BPC's time spent in the JMU end, so that's an opportunity missed. Stability pre-jumps Manny on the backboard. Well, Manny had an angle on the ball, and now he's trying to salvage possession for JMU, but they're passing around that presence of the Dukes in the midfield, and Bruton Parker will hold on to this 1-goal lead, try to add to it, maybe a second, but I'll have to find another opportunity to get that second in. That's a great save by Gad.
That play should have been rushed, but I don't think the comms were there exactly for Bruton Parker. Maybe not expecting that bump to come through, which I guess if you're a Bruton Parker fan, maybe you did expect a bump to come through, as they always seem to do. But Manny, though, making some unexpected plays of his own, looks middle for a teammate, but nobody's there directly. Cass is late. Antics back on the net, and Gad caught sideways, but not going to be caught in any other way, as now gets that easy touch to the Pigeon, who does have a reset. But once again, the full field plays from JMU have been snuffed out time and time again.
Cass, 60 boost, will get through 1 Duke, wants to get through the other 2 with some help from Antics. The pass, though, is a little bit too high, but the Barons continue to look for one another constantly in offense. Look for bumps, throw any kind of extra look at the JMU defense that they can, and it's a big reason why they've put in 7 goals now through 2 games in a couple of minutes. But that's a save there coming out of the Bruton Parker camp. Antics blocked ability shot on target. Now Pigeon's been bested there in the midfield, but there is no immediate shot from the Bruton Parker Barons until Antics puts one on, but ability gets the save.
Cass, a huge pacemaker in the Bruton Parker defensive half, finding his way over a few players into a very close shot. But for now, James Madison will finally get some time to regroup. And Gad, who is not going to find an air dribble there, as Antics will dunk him in the air. Now Cass will look back to Antics. Antics back over to Cass. It's pushed a little far. I think it was more of a shot intentionally, but regardless of intention, will not find the end result. But now Cass may have an open net, and kind of did, but shot's a little high. And now Antics will try and keep this ball in play. It will be a slow play from ability, as read by Manny, who will try to go back to a teammate. Bruton Parker relentless here in the purple half of things, as Pigeon finally will get some time to go back to an air dribble. An early flip will put him in position to find a bump, and Bruton Parker was already ready. Gas looks for something off the corner, back to a teammate, but 2 Bruton Parker Barons stuck in the corner. Antics with the player all over him, but Bruton Parker surviving, almost finding a bump on ability there, and back and forth still, but Bruton Parker retained the lead.
BPC seemed to have downloaded JMU, 75% field domination in Game 3, but Pigeon can still do so much with so little. Manny's chasing demos upfield, while Antics loses car privileges for a moment thanks to Ability's demo in the midfield, and then at the last second, Cass, it gets cut back upon by Pigeon there on the BPC goal line, and we're still going, still a close series.
I know that Bruton Parker, as a program, will be on stream tonight. They're looking for all the good juices they can put into their play tonight. Bruton Parker Academy, unfortunately, though, did lose to Cumberland. That went to 4, and surprisingly, actually was a very close series. So we made the joke about GMU Academy being the best team because they took a game. Now Cumberland's dropped a game each week. So competition levels in the SCL continue to rise, and Cumberland hasn't even played the best of the best just yet, other than Bruton Parker and Tiro Simon, obviously. But we will have more score updates in the meantime. We have 60 seconds left, and maybe even a Gad shot here in what could have been a huge swing of momentum after the first goal for JMU, but for the time being, it's another late game scenario. JMU having this late momentum, not as nearly as much as they had originally, but they may just bring it all back here with a great passing play, but it'll be a Bruton Parker reset. Cass is able to get up and over one, and we'll look for maybe one more. It'll go over. Ability is there, but not close enough. And Bruton Parker looks for another counter. Pigeon off the backboard to himself. Goes behind a player, and Cass a huge demo on Gad. 30 seconds to go. A Cookster bench is in order, but it's going to be weak, and Bruton Parker now in a more awkward spot.
That 5th BPC demo of the game is so big as JMU struggle to connect passes with strikers. They had a couple of chances that possession. We take game 3 and force Bruton Parker to operate here in the final 10 seconds down a goal, but instead we'll stay tied, entering the waning moments of regulation. Antics is downfield but makes no contact. Manny's upfield, but same deal. Doesn't connect with any JMU Dukes, though retains possession of the ball. Centers it down. Are there defenders left? Yes. I think that was Pigeon that made a last-second block right there, but his efforts are still needed. No boost on the goal line of JMU, but Bruton Parker do play the ball corner to corner. Still keep it up, and ability's seen enough. He wants overtime.
Bruton Parker, though, brought it down close again at the 0-second mark, and now it'll be JMU who gets a chance to strike first. A Pigeon flip reset is in order, but once again, it'll be forwarded away, as now with 10 seconds in, we're already seeing Bruton Parker on their back foot, but as I say that, Cass is a 1v1 against the other new signee for the game, not able to find it. Will find a bump. Antics, bouncer not able to be found, and Manny can't go. He has no boost. Ability has a chance to musty over, but instead it's a weak pass to the side. Pigeon, though, off the backboard, looks for the game for JMU's first of the series, but Bruton Parker again survive, and now the counterattack is moving. It's not going to be as strong as they'd like it, as Manny once again is on low boost, and no one will be a read on the sidewall either, and Pigeon finally will get to it, but is it early enough? It looks like it will be, but Manny on his back foot's able to get back to the ball, and Bruton Parker survived, but for how much longer? This one goes back out to Gad, who's got room, but a pre-jumped Antics actually won't find it, and a huge touch from Manny's back wheel will get the Barons a little bit of breathing room.
Antics takes a good 50 as well. Puts that ball in no man's land. I think all 3 JMU players were equidistant from it, but Gad takes over, hands the ball to Pigeon, and JMU have some life left in this series. They'll do what they could not in game 2 and win overtime here on Driftwoods.
I mean, hey, who better than Pigeon? You've had to rely on him maybe a little more than normal against this Bruton Parker side, but you've got to do what you've got to do, and JMU definitely not out of this series. We already knew that. The games have been close for a reason, but my lord, you've got to look at those Bruton Parker shots.
But they were stopped 9 times by James Madison there. It was hairline defense, yes, but the Dukes found a way to keep themselves in a manageable game. And Pigeon did do a lot of heavy lifting there, but that Gad assist at the end of overtime was perfect. He beat one over the top there on the side wall, and then the last man couldn't do anything about the then reunited duo of James Madison. So it's a big win for JMU, and I think that game they were able to do a lot of what they couldn't previously. Finish opportunities and stop Bruton Parker in the JMU half. And if that continues, I can see a world where we get to game 5, but not before Bruton Parker change up their looks enough to throw off JMU and force them to adjust on the fly.
The reality is definitely there. It is not uncommon to say that JMU will win Game 4. I think that the momentum is slowly starting to shift back. I think Game 2, JMU really did show that they have what it takes to win this series and possibly have won it earlier than they would have liked if they could have found that Game 2 overtime. But back-to-back overtimes, the team split it. Now Bruton Parker has to make their first major adjustments. So what do they do here in the Coliseum in Game 4?
Honestly, I don't expect them to change a ton. I think they continue sweeping the line because there were some opportunities that game where if it was typically Manny going after demos on the JMU goal line, I think if he makes contact and finds a well-timed demo, that game's over because BPC were defending well enough against the typical JMU attacks where if they get one more goal, that's probably a sweep for them, but we'll see what they elect to do, and it's just an Antics shot, top right, to put the Barons up first.
There must be something in the water, something in the fuel with this car specifically, because that is drilled top right. A perfect start for Bruton Parker and what was very, very decent coverage from the Dukes. So huge play from Antics to step up here with the lights as bright as they have been the last few games with the overtimes, and James Madison will try to push us to that, or hopefully for their fans, win it earlier. And that passing play is a good start, at least in terms of them blocking it away, and now even faking out Cass.
Okay, there are 2 JMU cars in the air, and there was no one hitting the ball, but Ability seized the moment to find a clear for the Dukes, but Manny is seizing his moment. A big redirection that throws Pigeon off on the goal line, and Manny will keep going, the menace that he is. A pass to Cass, but all he can do is play it into the corners, got no boost, and is looking for demos there on the JMU goal line, and Bruton Parker seem to have kept that part of their strategy intact.
Bruton Parker off to a worse start than the previous game, but I think we're past the point of even analyzing the starts, because other than game 1, I don't think it's mattered about who scored first. It really hasn't made a major difference now these two teams have played. Bruton Parker could be up 1, they could be up 5, they're still going to be in your face, they're still going to find these bumps, and James Madison are still going to play perfect defense for now. And now Pigeon looks to get the counterattack moving once again for JMU, but Bruton Parker is there with full boost, but now the bump's starting to come through for JMU. A different sight than normal. How about a bottom right Pigeon shot? That's anything but abnormal, and a huge step-up play from him again.
Well, Ability bodies Cass right there, and that prevents him from being able to make a play on that ball quickly. So, yeah, it sets up Pigeon, and that's a guy you want shooting the ball if you're JMU. That's a big answer here, and the last couple of games have been 1-1 overtime games, and right now with the quality of defense I could see us getting back there, but let's see if the offenses on either side have stepped up anymore, and apparently the Dukes have.
Here we go. Pigeon, Ability, and Gad, all players you can count on in the midfield, but at the end of the day, it's mostly Pigeon finding the picture-perfect angle there, but a great play from Ability, somebody who's been kind of quiet this series, but a huge play to free up some room and gives Pigeon a free net to shoot on, and now JMU a massive lead here with just about 3 minutes to go.
I was just going to mention that because Ability has been very quiet, has not yet registered a goal, has just averaged a single shot per game, no assists either in the first 3 games, I should add. And he's had the least average per game touches on the ball of the 6 players in this lobby. So Ability, I think making his presence known off ball in game 4 is big for JMU, for him to find production elsewhere, despite having a relatively quiet series offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I'll clarify as well. I believe that's where Ability's the most comfortable, actually, is off the ball. I mean, if Pigeon and Gad want to get up to all the antics, no pun intended, that they want in the Bruton Parker half, then I think he's totally cool with that. Now, granted, Ability's normally a cornerstone of the James Madison defense, and that's the part that I was more concerned about, is now he's going to leave Pigeon and Gad in a very awkward spot. And even though there was 2 players back, both are completely thrashed.
Look at this. How do you get a read on this? Pigeon's backwards. Antics fakes like he's going to touch the ball, and so that, I'm sure, freezes Gadira and Ability on the JMU goal line. And then Manny comes in. He was plan A all along. Fires a great shot through a gap in the JMU back line, and Bruton Parker have a way back in. We're tied up 2-2 with 2 minutes left in a massive game 4. JMU defense, I think, is going to be tested a bit more than BPC's here in the late goings of this 4th game.
I mean, so far, they didn't win the original battles, but they're winning the war. A lot of the momentum, I think, in terms of this entire series has been in favor of the Dukes, but it's always the last second, that last-minute bump that Bruton Parker excels at under the pressure, and that right there, another very high-pressure moment that they're able to survive, and now with 90 seconds to go, Bruton Parker will have the initial offensive chances. Cass will look for a dunk on Pigeon, but now a huge play to swing the pace, and now a very big open net with not a lot of Bruton Parker boosts left to work with it, but Manny will find some in the corner, will go full field. Antics looks for a bumper, maybe a redirect, and it won't even matter. It's an own goal.
That's a true own goal, too. I mean, Pigeon has boost for this. Yes, Antics is in his face, but he just straight up scores that. Crossbar and in. If he's an offense right there, we're heralding his mechanical ability, but that's a huge error from Pigeon, and now James Madison, they're down.
I can't say I would have expected that. Somebody who's probably a top 3 most dependable player in the entire league in terms of team captains and team cornerstones.
Boost grab.
He's a natural scorer. I got to give him that. But jokes aside, a very tough spot for James Madison to be in. 45 seconds left. They've been in this situation before, but can they crawl out of it once again? And it looks like that they will. And the Quiet Maestro himself ability finally steps up again.
Well, now's the time for your first goal of this series. Ability was lurking here. Notice that Gad was backboard, and that cast was awkward as a result of that. I mean, Bruton Parker, I thought their defense was more dependable, I think, of the two we've got in the lobby right now. But they looked awkward, and Antix is going to try and make up for it. Gives Cass some space, and actually there's a lot of room to work with for BPC. 30 seconds to go, and they've nearly found a go-ahead goal, but it's JMU finding a stop, a clear, maybe a shot here. No, Gad backs off.
There's room for more than just a go-ahead goal, though, as there's a lot of boosts on the purple side of the pitch, as Pigeon will have a beat. And actually, no, Manny does get the read, so now it's up to ability once again to maybe have some heroics. Anthix is bumped, but it survives for now. Gad on the net, blocked by Cass. Pigeon is there. Potentially some heroics from the leader mechanically. Reset, saves it, will get the carry, but Manny reads all the way through. Anthix wants the 1v1 against Gad. Here comes a play. It'll stay up. No bump for Bruton Parker, and that may be the biggest shock of them all. How is that not a classic Baron bump play?
3 straight overtimes. They couldn't get it done in regulation, but Manny will try at the start of OTs. Going backboard, and Manny hits it. Keeps Bruton Parker undefeated. This is their league, and the newcomers best not forget that.
Manny, somebody who's been around for Bruton Parker's entire tenure in CRL, absolutely slotted. What an ending, and what a show of dominance, a show of brilliance from the Barons, who I think are both the sword and the shield of the SCL as things stand.
What a conclusion to that set. JMU showed fight, no doubt, but they have a little ways to go if we're going to consider them in the realm of maybe taking a series off of Bruton Parker, because that was close, that got weird, but JMU did rely heavily on Pigeon defensive outplays to keep them in that series, and they found good goals outside of that as well to win games and force overtimes. But Bruton Parker as a whole, TJ, you and I know, we've watched a lot of this team, are just as solid as they come.
I mean, they're the team to beat until Cumberland gets them again. I would say it's even though Cumberland did get the tier assignment win. They're in different pools, I think, for a reason of some higher entity. They're going to probably be our 2 favorites when this group stage is all said and done. Granted, a lot can happen between now and then, but beating JMU in 4, that's a huge result for Bruton Parker, both in the SCL and within CRL as a whole.
And, I mean, that was supposed to be their biggest test of Tier 1 pool play. So until the playoffs, unless someone else wants to step up in Group 2, that's the team that was supposed to take Bruton Parker off the pedestal, off of one of the top seeds going into playoffs. So BPC remain 3-0, and now all-time, let's see, with 3 series wins this season, they are 37-6. Across 3 semesters, I guess 2.5 semesters of SCL play all time. The Barons really are inevitable.
Again, that's what they symbolize. They might be the SCL by the end of this season, as this is the, I think, varsity age of the SCL with all these crazy, overall extremely talented programs, top to bottom, and we appreciate both teams joining in the last year, and I can't believe that we even get to cast a matchup like this as a part of the SCL. So regardless, I'm glad that the talent was there. I'm glad the entertainment was there, and for JMU, they are going to be starving for just a little bit longer.
I know they are. I know they wanted that to be a best of 7 right there, but it is best of 5s. It is still SCL group play. Of course, presented by MSI, our new title sponsor of the entire Rocket League season. So a lot of what we're doing here, a lot of the extremely entertaining action that we saw in that last set is made possible by MSI for sponsoring Rocket League this semester of the SCL. So you'll hear a lot of that name going forward. So do make sure to check them out. But Tommy Buckets, we appreciate the raid. Florida Southern, TJ, we're being informed. You got a 3-0 win over Texas Tech. And elsewhere, we have any other interesting results?
I don't know about unexpected results. I mean, South Carolina beat Oklahoma in 4. I think that's a fair matchup. Florida Southern sweeps Texas Tech. I don't know if that was on your bingo card. Maybe that should have gone to 4 or 5,
Yeah.
but a huge, like, I think, placement win for them in terms of where they stand. Your boys at Auburn lost to UTD in 3, unfortunately. And then outside of that, nothing too shocking. There is some tier 2 games that we're going to have to see how they pan out. There's a few game 5s going on right now.
Okay.
But for the most part, actually probably, and cross my fingers here, a normal week of SEL group play.
Well, that won't last for very much longer. We still do have the 8 p.m. Central Time matches coming up in a bit. Of course, the one on stream is Bruton Parker Academy versus Florida. We're sticking with the Barons after they got the A team got a big win against James Madison, and BPC Academy is a a force to be reckoned with as well. Of course, one of the former A team players in Milk is playing in that set against Hammy Crackers, Larry, and True Raid. But I'm looking at the results coming in. Shout out Shaka for being our guy out in the field at the moment. Apparently, Clemson and James Madison's B team have gone to Game 5, so that could get crazy if JMUB end up winning that. George Mason taking on South Carolina B, winning there. South Carolina 3-1 to Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm with you. Nothing too crazy just yet.
Again, you better be knocking on wood because you know how this league gets whenever we take our eyes off it for a second. And like you mentioned, there is still round 4 here in group play to go. But overall, I would imagine we'll probably have some shocking results to go over when we come back from the break. But I think other than that, again, shout out to Bruton Parker and JMU. They're going to come back even stronger. And I think JMU is still the favorite to be second in this group.
Well, Florida and Bruton Parker Academy are coming up at the top of the hour. That's in about 20 minutes or so. So make sure you keep an eye on SEL results, sel.leagueos.gg, and Liquipedia as well. Shout out Shaka, and I believe it's Shaka and Chipmunk Man putting that together. A lot of people make the SEL go around. So shout out to all of you for sticking around for BPC Academy versus Florida coming up, and Koopa Troopa as well from UGA. He helps with the Liquipedia page. So shout out them by name. It takes a lot to get the LP page up and running. But break time. We will see you for BPC Academy and Florida at the top of the hour. And a reminder, big shout out to MSI for helping make all this happen. Welcome back to the Southeastern Esports League. We're starting up our second half of the Rocket League broadcast here. We've already seen the Bruton Parker A team get a win today against James Madison in 4 games earlier. Took 3 overtimes, but they got the job done. And now, TJ, we get to watch the Academy team take on one of the better teams to do it in the SCL and the Florida Gators.
I don't know where to go with this one. The word that I used before we started was I think this is a big heat check for both teams. Bruton Parker Academy comes in and obviously looked incredible through tier assignment, being a brand new roster. And Bruton Parker's always had these hidden gems that they recruit. And then you drop Milk down from the A team to lead the way. I would expect this team to come into this series hot, but Florida, a team that has been very consistent over the last 6 months in the SCL, placing 3rd this past season and also in a very good spot to make land. So I'm not sure which way I want to go. I will say this, though. This is going to be messy. Both teams, based on what I've seen in their history, Florida's had a rough time when the lights are bright on stream. Bruton Parker Academy, I think, is going to play like the Bruton Parker of old. So we're probably going to see a lot of bumps, a lot of demos, a mechanical masterpiece here and there, and it's going to be a mess overall.
Well, I'm happy that it's our mess to show off on broadcast. And I'm looking at results right now for both of these teams. And Bruton Parker Academy, we mentioned it before the break. They took a game off of Cumberland. They were coming in chat talking about it as well. So thumbs up there. Cumberland's now dropped 2 games overall, both to Academy teams, which is a little bit funny. But in the battle of those Academy teams, Bruton Parker did beat George Mason Academy. So, I don't know. I think the BPC B side here coming in as definite heavy favorites after you beat George Mason Academy, who themselves just took East Tennessee State to Game 5, if you can believe that.
Oh man, we just talked about this too. I want to defend ETSU. Because they are a super talented team. They're a top 50, top 48, top 45 team in the entire nation, however you want to argue it. And we know what they're capable of at their ceiling, but also the floor is looking a little rough. Now, they have survived, so a win is a win, but those game differentials are going to come back and haunt them later in the season. But shout out to the teams who keep taking them to 5. That group is not decided by any means.
No, Pool 1 is insanity right now. And I think after Bruton Parker Maine won their series against James Madison, that group is starting to shake out. About maybe how we expected, but still a lot of room, though, for for chaos to develop as the weeks come along. And we are still waiting on the chaos to happen here in the second half of week 2. But this is where stuff starts getting importance, as this is starting the back half of group play almost, because you play 7 series, you're starting your 4th now, and you need to lock in if you want to make a good run towards that last chance qualifier if you're in tier 2, and then at a potential playoff lock if you're in tier 1. So it's time to step up here.
I mean, also looking at this group specifically, we already talked about how it's kind of a mess as is, and Bruton Parker Academy in Florida, I would argue, could be fighting for the 2nd or the 3rd seed here. ETSU, Alabama, USC, Oklahoma, all teams that we don't know how they're going to fare against each other just yet. USC and I think I would say Alabama have looked the most consistent out of that group, but
it's crazy.
I would probably put my money on either one of these teams to take a series against those teams to 5 and potentially most likely win. So this could be for all the way as high as the 2 seed, which, as we know, getting the top 4 seed in a tier 1 is like a huge victory as is when you're trying to avoid the LCQ and get those points towards land and meet us in Alabama come springtime in May. But either way, I just think that this early on in the SEL season, we already made this point in the previous game. You don't expect these critical matchups to happen, but for Bruton Parker on the academy side and the varsity side, huge games here.
And then this is why you want to play in Tier 1. Obviously, because you've got a cushion to avoid elimination. Not that any team that's kind of in contention for playoffs would have any trouble getting out of groups unless the hat puts them in a group of death. But regardless, you want to play in Tier 1 because you get good reps in moving into the last chance qualifier or playoffs. It doesn't really matter. If you're playing good teams and you're improving against those good teams, then you should be all right in the single elim last chance qualifier or double elim playoffs come a bit later on in the semester. And I mean, there's a lot on the line here. And CECC spot, SEL, LAN points. This is a big spring for the Southeastern Esports League. And of course, it is presented now by MSI as they are our title sponsor for the Spring Rocket League season. So shout out to MSI for sponsoring the SEL here and making a lot of this happen. But TJ, I think it's about time we give these teams the go-ahead so we can get into this series and see who's really in a good position in Group 1 to maybe take one of those top 2 spots.
Yeah, Florida was trying to get some community coverage in, so
Ooh.
I believe we are set to go now. So
all right.
I think there wasn't a ready from either team, so we're just going to go. We're just going to send it into game 1. So Bruton Parker survive the spring.
Oh, Milk is already making his presence known, setting up Corrupt for an easy finish right there. And Bruton Parker Academy have already gotten the best of the Gators in one play.
Well, I mean, maybe I cursed them already. I said, can Florida survive the spring? And Bruton Parker Academy will make sure that point is put to bed early on here, 5 seconds in. And that's the style that I expect out of this Bruton Parker Academy roster. I think they're going to be in your face. I mean, again, just like how they used to play when it was Milk, Manny, and Antics. This is what this roster has watched for the past few years. Kyler being the newest signee, I believe, of Bruton Parker's current set of 6 players. And Corrupt also only came a short period before Kyler. And also Corrupt does coaching. So a lot of expertise, a lot of experience, even though a lot of these players are so young in their collegiate Rocket League careers versus where with Florida, I mean, Hammy, obviously young, I believe not much older than Pigeon. And I think only in his sophomore year after he transferred from FAU. So a lot of young bucks on the field, a lot of new varying play styles, and a lot of adjustments to be made after the early goal.
And I'm glad to see Corrupt in this lineup because he's the one player in this lobby that I haven't gotten to watch just yet. Kyler I got to see fill in with the A team on a couple of show matches over the summer and early fall, and obviously I've seen a lot of Florida and Milk as they've been mainstays of the SEL and the top of the collegiate scene for a while now. But so far, really so good for Bruton Parker Academy. Florida's taken a second to get into this series, really, while the Barons have set up a couple of good looks, but nothing that has hit the same heights of that opening kickoff goal that they scored about 90 seconds ago now. So still 1-0 in game 1, and that's what we like between these two.
When you're looking at Florida's history in the SEL, especially with their best season this past semester, they've always been a team that has struggled to start off on the right foot. They are a very slow-paced team, but not in a negative way at all. In fact, they might be the best slow-paced team in the SEL. They're not going to be in your face, but they will play ultra consistent. They're going to find each other in the midfield, and then when they do want to pick up the speed, you're going to have no idea what's coming. So for Florida, I don't think they're going to be too worried about being down 1-0, especially with still half this game and a little more left to go, and maybe even an open net for Larry here as that ball's going to be pushed a little too hard from Hammy as well. Bumps will come through. Larry wasn't ready for it exactly, so the fake was in order, but as I said, Florida, a slow start, but now here they come picking up the pace.
Oh, and Hammy's looking for a fake. He lets that ball go, and it sets up a shot from True Raid. Larry's there to maybe finish it off, but that angle was too tight for him, so BPC Academy will stand tall defensively, but haven't found a clear just yet. They are still in danger, though. Raid is low on boost. He's forced into a 50-50 to just give that ball up on the BPC Academy line. Kyler, though, does the same in the corner. Raid's beaten another. Now Hammy and Larry both go up. Backboard. Hammy set himself up for a double tap, but can't get that to go either. The Barons have survived an onslaught of Gator offense.
Speed is the middle name of Bruton Parker. No matter if it's the A team or the B team, they will be there on the ball and they will make the perfect touch. And so far, Bruton Parker on both ends of the pitch able to do it well. We watched the A team play ultra consistent, play ultra confident, and piece it all together in what was a great 4-game series. And now with this Florida roster against the Academy side of things, I'm not sure if the Academy team can do it yet, but if their season has been worth anything to show so far, especially with that game win over Cumberland just about 30-40 minutes ago. I like where the odds are if you're a Bruton Parker fan. And for Florida, again, I don't think you're worried. You've probably gotten used to seeing them down a goal in these late game scenarios, but they're getting chances. They are slow to start. They are slow to get off the blocks, but overall, they're finding good chances. But the bumps are now starting to come through. There is starting to be some more lanes, but also Bruton Parker, some bumps in the mix as well. And the defense, some awkward touches, but no major threatening plays from Florida.
Pot shot right there, and it didn't draw two off the goal line for BPC, but you get a clear to the midfield line where True Raid was, but he's been taken out. Kyler has beaten Hammy Crackers there in the corner, though Florida is gearing up for another long offensive, as that's a win from True Raid. Up in the skies, Hammy following up. We're bested by Corrupt here. Larry still takes over. BBC can't follow these clears with anything substantial. And again, they double commit for that ball. But again, Florida is at the midfield line waiting for a lofted clear. And they've set themselves up again for a potential center ball. But again, the near side defense of Bruton Parker holds firm. And in the final 20 seconds, Florida have put up now 7 shots on target to BPC Academy's 2. And yet it's a 1-goal lead for Academy that still hasn't been taken away.
I mean, 5 seconds left here. There's going to be a chance in front of the net as that bump comes through, but Corrupt will try and play this slow. Ball will hit the ground, and how about that? The first 5 seconds belong to Bruton Parker, but the rest of it completely even up until Florida almost found that last-minute sway.
That is a stat line that you don't see often. Florida dominating the shot row. They didn't find any goals, though, off of the 8 shots they put on target. BBC Academy had to work from their defensive zone for 60% of that game. It seems backwards, but Florida just could not break through. And look at the saves from Corrupt. Actually, you can't if you're watching on stream, but Corrupt had 5 of those 6. He stepped up big time here.
I think the most interesting thing for me would be you look at Milk's role here on this Bruton Parker Academy team. On the A team, he was the aggressor. He was the first one. He was what Manny was playing in the last series that we watched. But now, I think for the first time in my career seeing Milk play, I think he doesn't have to be the aggressor. He doesn't have to be the shooter. He doesn't have to be the main demo guy. He is the back line of this team with 2 young bucks around him. And when Corrupt can drop 630 points and outscore almost the entire lobby combined, why not? Even though it was 1 goal, if he can handle that side of things and the pressure can be put on by Kyler on his side, then Milk doesn't need to worry about it. So a new leaf for Bruton Parker Academy, as I'm shocked by their play style change. But here in Game 2, what will the Florida adjustments do to their play style?
We'll see. I mean, so many opportunities to score and none fall, and already an opening one from Hammy Crackers, but Corrupt adds another save to his growing pile of them here across a game and change in our second series of Week 2 of the SCL, but Hammy Crackers will try again. He's not a player to be denied too much in a series like this, but Florida still nothing to show for all of this possession as Corrupt breaks free, and it's only for a half a second. Hand puts the ball back in scoring position.
Larry's going to try and take a soft touch, but it's a little hard off his hood. Now Kyler does have room, and that's a player that the Bruton Parker program loves to talk highly on. There was a time period last year where I think around the time that the cast rumors may have started for Bruton Parker, funny enough, I saw Kyler actually play with the A team in a few show matches and scrims here and there. So Kyler's somebody who is talented enough that maybe is on the same level and maybe, if not better, than Milk, if that's how the Bruton Parker team felt about things. But either way, they pair well extremely nicely together, and we'll see how Corrupt's been playing in that system so far, and we can tell you that he seems to be the main first man, finding some room in the midfield here and definitely putting Florida in an awkward spot as Raid will give this ball away, and now Milk will try to put the counter forward. He's got an awkward interaction as that ball's too heavy, and now Larry will get the next beat. Corrupt's got room, though, and once again, a very powerful play into the Bruton Parker hands.
I've been told directly when talking about Bruton Parker roster choices by Milk that he and Antics play a very similar role, and sometimes that causes chemistry to lack as they're both in the same position trying to do the same thing. So I'm wondering if their roster choices have anything to do with that right now. And so I'm wondering if this is more freeing for Milk, playing a role that he's more comfortable with. And I mean, so far so good. Bruton Parker Academy's had a good start to the season. They're up 1-0 in this series, 1-0 in aggregate goal scoring as well, and this is quite a defensive academy roster that has held a Florida offense that is typically scoring in your face goal after goal, and very much in check.
I mean, they've held the Florida offense, but for how much longer? As Hammy may find a dunk right here for Larry, and the net's going to be open left side, and we talked a lot about Catalyst last series, and we're no stranger to Hammy Crackers beating two.
Well, Hammy is another one of those guys that is used to being the guy on a roster, was the main man to look to on an FAU team for several seasons, and then came to this Florida team and told him that he didn't want to play that same role anymore. He wanted to be more of a facilitator, and he has stepped up, I think, mechanically in this game 2, after in game 1 what Florida was trying to throw at BPC Academy wasn't working, and right there set up Larry nicely. And okay, the Gators have a lead, but Bruton Parker Academy, they've got to find a way back, and it starts on their defensive line, of course.
Bruton Parker Academy, though, have been playing the defensive side of the ball fairly well, but Florida's slowly starting to come alive, and that slow start is, again, slowly fading as the Florida series normally do go, and as they've gone this season as well, as they continue to put the pressure on here in what has been a fairly dominant-sided game for them. I would imagine if you're looking at your tools, Bepik, that the field domination is probably fairly heavy. I would have to guess like a 60-40 split towards Florida, maybe even more.
70-30 right now in game 2, but if you do average out the last 2 games, 65-35. So pretty dominant for Florida. We have played a lot on this orange side, but Parker Academy with just one shot on the board here need to get going, and it doesn't have to be extended possession. I think this is a talented enough team to score in transition, but they just need opportunities to find a way back here, because their defense is great, but it feels like they're swimming with just their arms right now, with their defense carrying the load.
We'll see if they can get something going here, though. Just about 70 seconds to go, and they're still trying to survive the Florida onslaught that seems to never end, and that's almost an opportunity for a redirect, but now Bruton Parker Academy has a one-on-one. You have Milk leading the charge, and I think this is what you'd want here in this late-game situation. That's going to be 2 Florida Gators that fall, but now it's going to be a full reset as there goes another player. Krupp will try to find a read, but 2 players are drawn in. Hammy will find a pre-flip, but wait a minute. Kyler's got a chance here back towards the net. Larry's going to be awkward and leave it for Hammy, and Bruton Parker slowly starting to come alive here.
Corrupt has a little bit of space here, but he challenges nicely. Next up for Florida's Larry, and he cuts off a pre-jumping Corrupt that really wanted a pass there downfield from Kyler, but a little ambitious there from BPC Academy. Florida shut that down before it gets too dangerous, and now Hammy's in a 1v1 with Milk, but Milk had him right where he wanted him. Same with the next player up for Florida. Larry does turn around and eventually get that ball ajar from Milk's car, but it's not enough for Bruton Parker Academy. The fakes, the pre-jumps, they cannot put shots on target. They've got 2 so far in regulation and just need 1 more to tie us up late, but True Rate has control of the ball, is unable to down it, but he still has boost to remain relevant. Hammy spikes it, and that's game 2. Florida get themselves a 1-0 win.
All right, well, here's the heat check that I was referring to originally. Florida stays consistent, only let 1 goal go through last game, and now they only get 1 goal this game. So an extremely defensive game from both sides so far, and I wouldn't say that's unexpected. Bruton Parker Academy, a team with nothing to prove and everything to gain, as there's no real expectations across their side of things, but offensively, they've only got, what, 4 shots in the last 2 games?
Yeah, a combined 4, and that feels strange because Albedo, even on State of the SCL last night, was lauding this Bruton Parker Academy team and how talented an offense they have, but Florida have shut them down, and not with goal line defense like the Barons have mostly shut down the Gators, but with midfield presence. It feels like every challenge taken at the midfield line is set up and calculated by Florida to at least put the ball in some space for them to get another neutral 50-50. And with that, BPC have had little to no offense this game outside of the opening kickoff.
I will say it's an attestament to Florida's defense, though. If you got to see the direct point totals, which I know that Stream didn't, but in the point totals, you can see the possession. Bruton Parker has the most ball touches pretty comfortably. They're winning that battle for sure, but it's about what they're able to do with it, and also how thick that the blue wall, not the European blue wall, but here the Southeastern blue wall, has been here in Game 2. And now Florida will look to get back to the form that they showed all fall and be dominant here in their group against a Brute Parker Academy team that's been on upset watch, it seems like, every time they step onto the pitch.
Still, I don't know if I would call this upset watch, but still in danger of losing this series, Brute Parker Academy, as they need offense. And here you go, Milk will provide all of it right there. He was given a little bit of room to work with in the Florida corner and has stepped up to score the first of Game 3.
I'll have to clarify since Milk scores now. I mean that they're the team normally putting other teams on upset watch. Again, they have nothing to prove other than a good season and maybe a nice little skip over the LCQ, but they're not out of the woods at all. As 30 seconds in, they do find a first goal, but Florida right back on the offensive. But now it's going to be a direct copy of Game 1. Can Florida survive and actually find opportunities here in the next 4 minutes? It looks like the net will open up beautifully for Larry. Is someone going to be there? Kyler comes out of left field to find this one, and I thought Hammy had the bump, but just narrowly misses it.
Ooh, I like that from True Raid. It's a little extra touch there to maybe throw off Brute Parker Academy's defense. So, I mean, you say to put other teams on upset watch. I guess I mistook that because this is good enough an Academy side to be on upset watch themselves sometimes. And I do have high expectations for them, but here, just 2 goals in 3 games. It's not looked great on stream, but hey, if they're able to come away with a 1-0 win here, then they'll have the series lead in a couple of match points, and they're making True Raid and Florida's defense work hard at the moment. That blue goal line has been the site of a lot more action here on Driftwoods than I think the last 2 games combined. That's a great change for the Barons.
I was shocked to see that not be shot by Milk or Corrupt in that last offensive possession, and it may be very costly as Florida will quickly change the pace, but Larry's not able to find that shot, so Brute Parker will get to reset for the time being. But the point that I was going to make was that this Brute Parker offense is starting to speed up now. I'm expecting them to maybe slip into the old Brute Parker style of those insanely fast demos and rambunctious play in the opposite half, but so far for them, the blue half's been silent. They haven't been able to find too much. And now as I say that, they may find one more here, but other than their 2 early goals, there hasn't been a lot of positives. And Florida stays strong, at least for now, but it's getting a little hairy.
It is, and it's such a different look for Florida's defense here. They're scrambling a lot more in Game 3. Awkward misses, losing opportunities to control possession out of their defensive half, and yet they're not conceding, so working out okay-ish as long as they can get another goal at some point in this game. But Kyler on no boost has won a couple of 50-50s, and that gives BPC Academy some more space as long as Milk can do some damage in the air here. And I don't know why I'm even questioning that, like it isn't Milk hopping up in the skies to contest Florida, though. He's unable to gain enough for BPC Academy to put another shot on target, though. Florida find themselves a clear and test that back line of the Barons again, who is still looking good.
Milk turning very quickly to play first man on this next Brute Parker chance, and it will fall to Corrupt up next. But once again, Florida playing their 50s well. They really do have this slower pace of play down to a T, as they do like their 50s. They do like these slow air dribbles, but that right there is anything but slow for Larry, as he's going to be rushed out of his air dribble attempt, and now it's up to Hammy to try and control the pace. And it's a great fake, and he may even get over Kyler here. That he will, and Larry's got a chance to beat one on the ceiling. That's going to be on the net. Is it in, though? Raid can't get it. Hammy can't get it, and I was gonna make the Harry reference again, because how is that not in the back of the Brute Parker net?
Well, it was a tough shot, I think, for Raid to get around on it, and then Hammy the same deal with a Brute Parker player in his face, but still, that feels like one that should have gone upon first glance. And with 60 seconds left, I can't believe that we're actually thinking about another 1-0 finish in a game here to make it 3 straight, when both of these teams come in with such talented offenses, but it's been the defenses hogging all the spotlight.
Something's changed in the water in Brute Parker. I'm not sure what it is, but seeing a team with Milk or seeing a team with Manny and Antics not be super focused on the offense and the aggression is very surprising, as that's a close opportunity, but Kyler does read it well and also finds a huge play off the corner, and now it's up to Corrupt. try and meet Larry at the rim, and that he will. Do more than that, he'll block another player and throw Hammy off his track for now. All three members of the Gators side are stuck in the same area, and it will work out in their favor, but for how much longer? Kyler's going to let that go. Shot comes through. Two players go. Larry sunk by Kyler as well, and now to the last 15 seconds, Kyler will try to kind of be the stopwatch in the Bruton Parker side of things and keep things on track. Here comes Hammy, though, with a last-second chance over to Larry. It's an extra touch that nobody was expecting.
Raid.
Kyler very close. Raid will try and tap it, but it's weak, and it's not in place, and we have 3 straight 1-0 games and no overtimes either.
Bruton Parker Academy only registered 4 shots that game as well, and they had 3 of those in the first minute, I think. I remember looking early on in this game at how many shots they'd put on in the early goings, and it was at 3, just 1 in the back half of game 3, and Florida, again, have put up their regular 7 or 8. We're just copying and pasting stat lines here, but flipping the team names occasionally. This is a weird series.
I think we may have asked for it. I
Did
think
we?
when we put it into the sky, into the air, that it's been a normal week, I think we immediately asked for the worst thing possible. Now, granted, I will say that if Florida does win this series, it would still be a normal week per se, but this series is nothing close to that. And Kyler drops 500, but just like Corrupt's game earlier, it's because of the save total. So all this possession, all of this back and forth, it's everything but finding the back of the net. And this is an odd one because even from my perspective and yours as coaches, I'm not sure what you say here because on offense, neither team is playing poorly. It's more about the fact that it's not traditional Rocket League. There's not a lot of aggression or car-on-car action in any fashion.
I think it's one of those where you just lock in, play your game here going forward, and every little thing that goes right needs to be a nice or a good job or a great save, something like that, because this is a grimy series, and it's easy, I think, to get lost in the fact that for Florida, you've only scored once, and for Academy, you've only scored twice. And that can weigh on teams where they're thinking, okay, nothing's going right, even though there are a lot of things going right here. And there's one of them. For Florida, Larry has finally stepped up and taken over a play himself as he takes the ball from Kyler and takes advantage of an Academy miss.
Well, finally, pace of play is sped up by Florida, and they get to control how Bruton Parker Academy reacts. And now with their backs against the wall, about as far back as they can possibly be, you need that early goal. And if this series is to be taken at face value in any fashion, then that's it. The game's over, Bepic, if that's how it's going to be.
Well, considering how this series has gone so far, I wouldn't be surprised for that to be the lone goal that we see scored here on Utopia Coliseum, though. Florida's gotten some more space to work with here, at least in the first 45 seconds compared to how things went on Driftwoods, but Corrupt takes it all away and almost scores a worldie of his own, though it won't fall as Florida stack their back line, and Hammy's allowed to clear, has a passing option as well, but Milk interrupts and prevents Larry from scoring immediately.
Will try to find Larry on the backboard, but now it's going to open up the door for Bruton Parker to come through. Hammy was in a 1v3, but nobody is able to get anything moving too quickly for Bruton Parker. The boost numbers are not in their favor as Florida's got plenty, actually has about 300 if you average it out as we just saw, but Raid will use some of it to find not 1 but 2 demos and grab another boost, and now it will be Hammy and Larry grabbing more boosts, so Bruton Parker getting starved here, and if this is the theme that keeps going, then I would almost guarantee we're going to keep this at 1-0.
Ooh, especially with Raid creating a lot of space on the ball. He's not the guy that you look to on this Florida roster to be the on-ball force that gives the offense a chance to work some more possession. But if Raid starts feeling himself in this series, then I'm thinking we're going to a Game 5. But at the moment, that is what the scoreline suggests. And Envy Crackers is trying to run some interference, though BBC Academy dodge all of it and will net themselves some time spent in the offensive half, and that's come at a premium in pretty much every game except for the previous for them. And here at 65% field domination for Florida, and that leaves them at a piddly 35.
Florida starting to pick up on some bumps, though, but so will Milk,
Larry?
who will take Hammy out, but nobody's there, and Larry's got an uncontested save and a great play off the corner as well that makes Corrupt awkward. Now, granted, the 50 will come through, but it's still Florida possession, and I'm glad you brought up the field domination because this game has been anything but or sorry, everything and the Gators control. It's been exactly what you'd ask for. There hasn't been a really great Bruton Parker opportunity other than that previous bump play, and I would imagine maybe we will see our first second goal in the game. And Florida looking extremely confident all the way down to even Raid getting to come up and make some plays of his own. Is now the ball will fall back to Florida possession. Bruton Parker still disjointed in the midfield, and here we go again. 3 minutes of play and still only 1 goal.
Right, that's a good challenge taken, but on the goal line, Bruton Parker Academy have looked good. Milk can't keep control, though, and Larry's faked off by Kyler. I like what BPC's trying here. They're looking for extra opportunities to bump and demo upfield, and right there, if it connects, I think they find themselves in good opportunity to score. But finally, a team that doesn't score first decides to score one in regulation. Bruton Parker Academy have us tied.
It's almost impossible for Larry or Hammy to see where Milk was coming from there. That was from the opposite Florida corner. And then obviously a great play from, I believe it was Kyler, to get that ball over to Milk's side. And so finally, we have 2 goals scored in a game of Rocket League here on the mainstream. But Hammy might just make it a third, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves now. The scoring has finally opened up, but this series still extremely low scoring, still very slow and methodical, and Bruton Parker will try to end it here and now, and they do the first step by getting their goal.
Raid, again, on ball, is a menace at the moment, though it's not on the same page as Larry right there in the midfield as to when Larry should enter that play. So Florida missed out on a chance there, but Parker Academy have one of their own developing with Kyler spying on this ball in the corner, but no one touches it. So we're going to play some strange Rocket League on the Florida near post, and they still find a clear. Doesn't turn into a shot or anything like that, but I'm happy, or I'm sure Florida are happy to be out of that position. The Krup's throwing them back into it.
That's almost going to be another chance, though, as the Bruton Parker bumps are now starting to find their way into this series. But Florida may just have an open net. Kyler's going to be in an awkward spot, but will find the catch, at least somewhat of a catch. It's a little heavier than he would have liked, and Milk will miss as well. So Bruton Parker Academy are tied, but it's looking rough and it's looking dicey, as that's a great 50 from Raid, and now Hammy will get a chance, but he can't play off the bump. So Larry's on an island by himself. Has to be careful with his 50 here. Kyler will win it, though. Is this a chance for a Bruton Parker Academy shooter? It will be Milk. Dunking Hammy, but what a save, and Corrupt will finally find the right side, and Florida's officially on their backs.
Out of nowhere. I mean, there were opportunities for Florida to maybe take a lead of their own there a second ago, but they couldn't do anything with it. They fall flat, and Bruton Parker show them how it's done. Hammy made a great stop there initially, but way to be there. The follow-up was good, and now Florida off kickoff can maybe score one here. It's up to Hammy. He shoots it, but Kyler makes a big save. The freshmen's come up clutch, and now Larry tries to keep the ball up, but Milk on the ball should be able to ground it. He wins it for Academy. BPC's B team do what their A team did previously and get a big win in their pool.
This is going to change probably the entire outlook of this pool. That is a crazy play. I can't believe that was saved, but then still scored by Bruton Parker Academy. I mean, even what Manny's saying in chat here, even they thought it was in. So credit to Bruton Parker Academy. They were able to score 2 straight, which in most series is normal, but in this series, that's the only time that's been done in all of the 4 games.
Final total goals scored was 4-2. Bruton Parker Academy scored 4. Florida had just 2 goals that game, or that series, which is unbelievable. I'm a bit in awe. And I mean, I figured Bruton Parker Academy was coming into this series with a good chance to win. Florida was definitely the favorite team, but look at those final goal tallies, TJ. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 2-1. They finally decided to score multiple goals in a game.
I don't even know where to start. I feel like as an analyst, Betvic, I mean, me and you sit on the colleague board and the polls, and we normally see a lot of crazy collegiate action, as this field always provides something new, but this This is something I don't think we've seen on SEL mainstream either A, in a long time, or potentially ever. I know that you have all the stats in the world, but I'm not sure this is something that anybody tracks. I mean, full credit to both these teams. They survived what was an odd series, and for Florida, almost every series they've had on stream has been a very odd series. And granted, they did have control of this game or this series for, I really truly feel like, for more of the time than what Bruton Parker Academy had. But
Yeah.
when the moment came down to the goal line action, the Academy team was all over it.
Well, I've got a couple of points to make here. In Game 4, Bruton Parker Academy put 10 shots on the board. In Games 1 through 3, if you add them up, they had 8 total. So they stepped it up in Game 4, no doubt. But yeah, I've casted a lot of Rocket League, and that's probably the first time I've seen a 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and then Game 4 finally broke it open with 3 whole goals. But I also, with reference to Colleague, I did ask them. They didn't have Bruton Parker Academy as a potential team to rank initially, and I did have Dart add them because I thought they were significant, but I didn't put them in my top 48. I didn't think they had earned that with results just yet. But that one right there, I think, is an indicator this Academy roster should be up there with some of the best B teams in CRL.
I agree. And I also do want to provide some light on the other teams that were maybe in contention for that top 48 or in it. Texas Dallas has beat Texas Tech, and they're currently done, actually.
Okay.
And then James Madison handled business against UTD Green. So one of the hottest stories in the entire league is slowly starting to fizzle out at the hands of James Madison, which I think is just about expected. Also, USC keeps their dominance going with a win over George Mason Academy. And then we don't have any other Tier 1 updates for you. And I haven't got anything for Tier 2 yet either. So overall, round 3 games tonight, fairly normal. But in round 4, we may have just gotten the bad apple.
I mean, I don't know. That was a good series. It was close, and that's all we can ask for, I suppose. But with reference to UTD Green, jury's still out on them. I think if they beat UT Arlington, then they could still be in a lot of talks, because that would still be a big upset, I think. It's the technical C team we found out on State of the SCL, but yeah, nothing crazy just yet. So we'll wait for results to pour in. TJ, you got anything else before we do sign off for the evening?
I mean, overall, it's another great week for the Southeastern Esports League. It's always a blessing to be here and to be on the mainstream with you back at the helm, at least for the most part, is what you can control and what I can control, or not exactly anything crazy. The players obviously get to set the storylines themselves, and we just kind of get to witness it all. A big shout out to Shaka, running things behind us in the production booth, giving us score updates, doing more than what he's paid for sure. And it's been another great night of the Southeastern Esports League.
Always. And we do have Valorant tomorrow, same time, same place, just a day later. So make sure you join Scott and Dallas for the call there. Should be a great series of Valorant. And of course, one last shout out to MSI, our title sponsor for Rocket League. Make sure you check them out, because any kind of traction we get with MSI helps at the SEL. So there are ways you can help support the league, even if you don't play, if you don't work with us directly, but supporting us through our sponsors, through just watching, through supporting your favorite team in the SEL. That's how it's done. That's how we grow regional Rocket League and Valorant and whatever other games we decide to introduce to the fray later on. But to my digital rights, that has been DJ TJ. I've been Mr. Bepic. Shaka's been in the background pushing all the buttons. We'll see you tomorrow for Valorant. Thank you so much for watching the SEL Week 2 broadcast. See you next time.
Bye.